Welcome back to another episode. Stephen and I are so excited to talk to you about something that we have now walked thousands of other students and families through. And if you are thinking about starting a business, maybe you're in one of our programs, or you just love listening to the show and you have a business of your own, this method will be a game changer for you and can be applied to literally any business. So Steve and I are actually going to be jumping right in to be talking about this method, how you can apply it to your business today. And we're going to be doing a 3-part series. So you're going to be hearing us talking about the different parts over the next couple of months.
So what we're diving deep today is called the Rainmaker Method. Now, you may have heard of the Rainmaker Method, but it's refined over the years. And we have an all-new Rainmaker Method that is simplified, can truly apply to any business. So like Chelsey said, you're starting a business with us, going through our curriculum, you'll be learning the Rainmaker Method. Mm-hmm. Or let's say you already run a 7-8-figure business. The Rainmaker Method can help you as well. And the Rainmaker Method is made up of 3 parts. Part number 1 is leverage. Part number 2 is solution. Mm-hmm. And part number 3 is automation. Okay. So to boil those down, and then we're going to dive deep into 1, leverage is how can I do more with less? Mm-hmm. Asking this question in your business is going to give you more leverage. It's going to help you work smarter, not harder. It's going to help you grow your business more because it's not just about outsourcing. Leverage can apply to so many different areas of your business. Mm-hmm. And that's what we'll be focusing on today. And the next episodes in this series, they're not going to come out sequentially. They're going to come out over the next couple of months. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about solution and automation. Okay. Solution is what problems can I solve? And this is one thing that allows you to increase your prices, to offer more value, to actually win more in your business. And automation is how can I make this more hands-off? How can I make this more hands-off? And so let's start with the topic of leverage. Okay. The topic of leverage today is where we want to focus. There's so many areas of leverage. And honestly, we're going to refer you to a bunch of other podcasts that we've recorded, because if there's one thing we're all about in Rainmakers, it is this concept of leverage. Mm-hmm. And I would say, like, this podcast, if you go to some of the earlier episodes, like episode 100 and earlier, a majority of those episodes are about different forms of leverage that we've implemented in our business and in our personal life. Mm-hmm.
So for today's episode, we're going to be talking all about leverage, and there's actually 4 parts that we want to focus in on. So the first one is time leverage. The second is technology. The third is trust leverage. And then the fourth is traffic.
Yeah, I feel like most people's favorite here definitely be the time leverage. Mm-hmm. A lot of people come to us because they are extended on their time, right? They're trading dollars for hours. They're in that 9-to-5 job. They want to have more financial flexibility, but they don't want to give up more of their time. They want more time with their kids. They want to be able to go to the baseball game. They want to be able to drive their kids to school and not have a business that takes up all their time. So this is something we've really become known for, because this is something we unlock in people's lives and businesses. And we build businesses from the beginning, from this mindset, because there's no point in building a business if it's going to run your life. You need to build a business that you can run, right? You tell it what to do. And part of this is giving yourself time leverage. And so there's a couple of resources and things we'll scrape the surface on. But the first one I would say is just how you work, right? Mm-hmm. How you work is really important. We talk a lot about on this podcast switching costs, and we talk a lot about work modalities. Okay. We have an episode called 173, or we have an episode number 173 on deep work. If you want to go deeper on this topic of work modalities, and we have an episode, I think it's 156. that talks about our 3 best calendar hacks. Mm-hmm. Like if you listen to one episode and you want to optimize your calendar, listen to episode 156, because we'll give you like the highlights here. However, you're going to want to go deeper on that podcast to really unlock some time in your calendar without really changing anything, just restructuring. Okay. So let's really quick hit maybe some of those calendar hacks, deep work, just from a high level perspective. And then if you want to go deeper, episode 156 for calendar hacks, episode 173 for deep work.
And one of the things that really comes to mind in the conversation of leverage is I think people often think of outsourcing first. Like, I want to have a business. I want other people to work for me. And while that is great, and yes, we have applied that in all areas of our business, and any business we've ever run, we've always been able to outsource things. And I'm a big believer in that. I think beyond that, like, time leverage is so much more than that. It's not just offloading to somebody else, but it's really having this like internal like awareness of how you are actually spending the best of your time, how you are actually getting in the work that only you can do, how you are connecting with your customers, how you are moving the business in a direction that you want to know and go into. And I think if the sooner that you can have a grasp of like how you work best, what is works best for you and your family, I think the more that you will begin to expand and grow. Because yes, we can outsource, we can give tasks to other people that we don't want to do, we can hire our kids to do things, but we first have to have a deep understanding about how we work, what is going to work best for us. And especially as a mom, I can speak to all the moms here. There will be ebbs and flows in different seasons of your life where sometimes you have more energy, capacity, even time to grow your business in certain ways. And then there'll be seasons where you don't have as much time, you don't have as much capacity. And so really having an understanding of deep work and those calendar hacks that we're going to talk about are going to give you a good baseline to begin with that will help set you up for success, even in those months, weeks, days where you feel like my time is actually cut really short. Like, how do I actually best utilize it?
So just to scrape the surface of the calendar hacks, number one is reduce switching costs. So switching cost is scientifically proven. It's the cost of switching between tasks. And this especially plagues moms who are trying to work in the nooks and crannies of their life. And so one of the ways you can do this is really just theming your days and making your work times really specific and having really siloed times where you're actually just working, not trying to work and manage the household and run the kids. And I know some people have objections to this. Oh my gosh, like I can't afford a nanny or anything like that. But there are creative ways to do this. You could trade with a friend, right? Like you could, hey, I'm going to watch your kids on Monday. You're going to watch my kids on Tuesdays. There's ways to do this where you can just focus in. And if you do find yourself in your business doing lots of different things, because we often do in the startup phase, we wear a lot of different hats. The concept of switching costs, reducing this is just trying to wear one hat per day or trying to wear one hat per work block. So you're not doing like creative stuff on Instagram and then tax strategy and then like, product innovation and then, recording some content for a podcast. Those are like a bunch of different brain modalities and the cost between switching from those, like if you're switching back and forth, they've done studies on this. It actually takes your brain more time to switch than you actually do. So you might be in a different task, but your brain is still catching up. And that's what causes the fatigue and the burnout at the end of the day, like that mental frazzle. If you want to reduce that, reduce your switching costs. So again, that's just a high level overview. Episode 156 goes really deep on switching costs, theming your days. We talk about our whole week and how we themed our entire week. If you're a listener of the show, today's Tuesday when we're recording this, because this is the day that we do this all day. We talk all day. This is a one form of brain modality, creating ads, content, podcast talking. We're not getting on one-on-one meetings. We're not doing tax strategy today. We're just doing this. Okay. And that has really helped our family. It also helps us because we're working together. We're married. Like it helps me know this is Chelsey's day to do this specific thing. So if I'm going to bring this specific thing to her, I'm not going to bring it to her on a day that she's not thinking about that thing. So it's one way you can love each other, especially if you're working together, by theming your days, communicating it clearly. And if you want to hear that third hack, you could go listen to episode 156.
And when it comes to calendar hacks, which you guys know, I'm all about them. I'm all about scheduling things, having it in your calendar. I think another big thing that we sometimes overlook is communication and communicating with your spouse, with your partner, with your kids when you're going to work. And I totally realize that we have moms listening to the show that do work a 9 to 5, that are building a business outside of their work hours. So sometimes that might be in the evening when their kids are going to bed, or, while their kids are doing homework, they're working on their business. And so whatever time you decide to be working on your business, I think it's important to have in advance this setup of expectations. And even Stephen and I, like the last couple of weeks, we haven't been so good about doing a family meeting, which is also a previous episode that I would highly recommend for any family to increase.
I want to say it's episode 99 or episode 100. It's right around there.
Right
is our
around
family
there,
meeting.
family meeting. And we haven't been doing one of those as often, and therefore we haven't been communicating as much about our calendar. And we will get back on the train, you guys. But I have noticed that even though we do have that weekly check-in, we haven't in the last couple of weeks. And there's been things that like the morning of, there's been miscommunication of like, what, like I have a meeting right now, or, oh, I didn't realize we had this after this podcast episode. And so that's our bad for not communicating. But you
You
would
said our bad and then you looked right at me.
Sorry.
Does that mean it's my bad?
No, not our bad. So I'm
That's
like,
our bad.
sorry. It's our bad. It's on both of us. We had a lot of stuff.
I blame
happening.
holidays. Okay, you
Yeah.
kind of get out of the routine,
Yes.
and
that's
then
true.
we're just easing into it. But the weekends has been a lot lately for us. But yeah, I have noticed that we've been more reactive and frazzled throughout the week because we haven't been having that family meeting. That family meeting is one of our calendar hacks to set us up for success for the week, and the week goes so much better because it's not like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that thing was on Wednesday, right? We communicate it in advance. So 100% communication.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yes. Yeah. And Kathy, who we just had on the podcast, she's sharing her Rainmaker journey with everyone. That was one of her biggest points with just like, she does sometimes work in the nooks and crannies of her day, or she communicates to her husband, hey, like I need this 2-hour block. Can you take the kids on Saturday so I can keep moving the needle in my business? And I think we just overlook that. And even if we think like, well, it's in the calendar, we share a calendar so everybody knows. But I think there's another step of verbally communicating, like, especially if it's a big thing and it's maybe different in your schedule, having communication in advance is so key. And as I'm saying this, I am preaching to myself because, like I said, we need to implement this. So, okay, I think that's great on the topic of time leverage.
So time leverage first is optimizing your time.
Yeah.
Okay, get these calendar hacks. Start reducing switching costs. Like this is just going to help you. You only have so much time. You're already doing a lot. So let's make it really optimized. And then you're going to be able to be more effective with the time you have. Then the next step in the time leverage is like, let's talk about hiring people, like buying back your time. Like we talk about this all the time. Buy back your time. Your time is really the most valuable thing. You ask a room of people, what's more valuable, time or money? Most people vote time because time is one of those limited resources. And so a lot of us, as we grow the business, we get really used to like doing everything ourselves. But at some point in the business, it makes sense to hire people. And we talk about on the podcast, the first hire we ever made, it was just making little Christmas cards or something for our clients. At the time, Chelsey was like scrapbooking and like hand making these cards. And it would take her like 30 minutes per card. And we finally hired just like a friend to make these cards for us. And she literally made like a entire year's worth of client cards in one sitting.
And they were way better than anything I was making. Like I still to this day don't cut straight and like, crooked lines and everything in her cards were like perfection.
That was like money well worth spent. Okay. And so if you're thinking about, man, it's time for me to like offload one of these things, or maybe you just are like, I don't know what in my business I should offload. There's a couple tools that we want to share with you that may be helpful for you when you're kind of determining, what in my business should I offload? Should I hire someone for? And maybe the first thing you outsource is actually not in your business. Maybe your business is doing well, but you need to offload some stuff in your personal life. Maybe you need to have someone clean your house. Maybe you need to have someone do your laundry. Maybe you need a nanny, right? Like we've done episodes on all these things. I think our nanny episode is 124, episode 124. If you want to hear about how we hired a nanny, honestly, if you are hiring anyone in your business, I would listen to that episode because it talks about how we hire superstars. We go through a process, a hiring funnel process. If you want to go deep on that, episode 124. Okay. But so who knows what this thing is or who you're going to hire first, personal or business. But one of the ways that we've really identified this with our team and with our business is what we call the joy quadrant. Okay. The joy quadrant. And so if you're watching on YouTube, I'm making like a quadrant with my hands, which is basically a cross. Okay. So imagine like 4 squares. And on this chart, you're going to kind of like think through everything you do in your business, right? Like on the side, just write down everything you do. And if you're not sure, just keep a time log. So do it throughout 1 week, 2 weeks, write down every single thing you do. I wrote these emails. I sent these things. I created this SOP. I created this content. Write down everything you're doing. Okay. And then in the joy quadrant, how the axes go is the Y axis, which is up and down. Okay. That is contribution, right? Like how impactful is it to the business? Okay. Like, is it like super high ROI contribution? Or is it kind of like, I got to do that, but it's like pretty low contribution. Okay. So that's the Y axis. The X axis, which is going left to right. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm giving you some visuals. That is the joy axis. Okay. How much do you love doing this thing? Does it give you a ton of life? Does it give you shiny eyes? That's what our team says. Like, wow, I just look forward to this thing. It's amazing. That's going to be pretty far right on the X axis, the horizontal axis. If it's like, this is soul sucking, draining, it's going to go on the very low. side of this. Okay. So now you're going to rank all those things as little dots on your quadrant, and you'll be able to see, wow, there's some things that are super high ROI, super high contribution to the business, and you love doing them. They give you complete shiny eyes. And there's some things that are very low contribution to the business and you hate doing. Okay. Those are probably the things that you should either delegate to someone else. You should automate, right? Maybe there's a way to automate it, or you should delete it. Some of these things you don't even need to do because it's draining your soul. It's not impacting the business. So just cut it. So that tool right there, I just gave you a framework. If you literally sit down and do this, it'll free you up. It'll free you up because it'll help you know, who should I hire? Who should I delegate? Maybe I can automate this. Maybe I can just delete this thing. If it's really high contribution to the business, but doesn't give you life, like it's not shiny eyes, that could be a great thing to hire someone who's better than you at that, who loves doing it, who actually does get shiny eyes around that thing for that topic. So, and then when you need to hire them, go listen to episode 124. You can listen to our hiring funnel process and go hire a superstar.
Yeah. I think another thing in business that oftentimes happens is, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you start following other entrepreneurs that maybe you look up to, or systems and softwares, and you're hearing about the next greatest tool. And social media is such a powerful source to share more about what you're doing. And so, of course, everyone has an opinion about what social media platform you should be on, where you should be advertising. Even if you're an e-commerce seller, if you're on Amazon and all in, specifically in Rainmakers, of course, you're going to maybe get ads about like Shopify or this other platform here. And everyone is kind of like having those competing voices as far as who is the best, And I don't really believe that there's one platform over the other that is better. It's just understanding and mastering a platform first. And Stephen and I think, have gotten caught up in that before of, we started out in the Facebook world, like that was the only social media platform around with our wedding business. And then Instagram kind of popped up, and then we started talking about Instagram. And then even with like TikTok coming around, like we tried TikTok, and I just feel like there is this temptation as business owners, even like small business owners, when your time is so limited, it's so easy to try everything and to have your fingers almost in every single platform. And not to say that those platforms won't help you and aren't good and aren't powerful tool engines. I just think sometimes refocusing and realizing where is your energy best spent. And for Stephen and I right now, at least I'll talk personally for me, it's on Instagram. Like we were just talking about, like, was TikTok going to be banned? All these things recently. And I'm not on TikTok, and I'm missing out on an opportunity to grow our business or to connect to you over there because maybe you love TikTok. But for me personally in my life, like I scroll enough on social media, on Instagram, like I don't need another platform to scroll on, and I'm comfortable on Instagram, and it's worked for us. It's worked in our business. Yeah. So that's where I'm deciding to focus our time and doubling down. And so I think, if you're in the e-commerce space and you're hearing about Etsy and Shopify and Amazon, like especially if you're in our program, like go all in on Amazon. And when you've gotten some traction there, then maybe step out and do something over here and then diversify over time. But also in the beginning, just be aware of how much time you're spending on different things. Because if you spread yourself too thin, it's like that pumpkin analogy that we give. To grow a beautiful, successful pumpkin, you need to really focus on growing that one giant pumpkin, not having your roots and everything spread out too thin. And I think as you grow and your business grows then, and you have more team, you can diversify in those ways, but to really get good at one thing and not getting in scarcity or that lack mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm missing out because I haven't stepped out on this next platform, unless you truly feel like it makes sense for you and you have the capacity and you can like be on all the different social media platforms and be on all the different e-commerce platforms.
Yeah. If you haven't caught it already, we're very anti-hustle in Rainmakers. Yes. Of course, there's focus seasons, but focus, that's the word we're using. And I remember a friend asked me about this mastermind that we were a part of at one point. And I was like, yes, this mastermind is awesome, but I'll warn you, it comes with a side of overwhelm because the guy who was running it is very much like this. He's like, do everything, be on every platform, like do all the things, right? And like, that's just not the best advice. Focus is better than spreading yourself thin. You only have so much energy and nutrients to put into your business and time, especially as parents. So use it wisely. And I look to, we had one person on this podcast. I'm not going to share their name because they're a little more private with their numbers, but they're doing like $40 million a year. And you will not find this person on social media. You will not find this person on TikTok. Like they just found what worked and they just focused on that and they did it over and over and over again. Even though that can feel a little boring for entrepreneurs who experiment, do new things, just like that focus, just incredible. So we're spending a lot of time on the time leverage thing. I would say,
I think it's what?
I think it's like it's the place you got to start. And it's honestly where you're going to feel the most ROI. When we surveyed our community, time, freedom was one of the greatest desires in the community. And so, there's a book called Buy Back Your Time. You want to kind of go deeper on this topic. Dan Martell, I read that in 2024, really liked that book. I would say Dan leans towards hustle culture a little bit. So just be forewarned, he might say, go do all the things, hustle, hustle, hustle. But I think his concepts in the book of buying back your time are really solid. I really love his buyback rate formula. So basically you take I wish we did this when we were in the wedding industry. We just never thought this way. Take what you made last year in your business, okay? And divide it by 2,000 hours. Okay. That's like kind of like standard working hours in a year, 40 hours a week. So that's your hourly rate. Okay. So even if you're an independent contractor or you're a creative or whatever, that's how much you made per hour. Okay. And maybe if you worked 80 hours, it might be less. Okay. If you worked 80 hours a week. But just divide by 2,000 and then divide that number by 4. Okay. If there's something in your business that you could pay that person that rate for, let's just say I'm not going to do the math, but like just do this with your thing right now. Take your total income for the year, divide it by 2,000 and then divide it by 4. Okay. That's going to be like 1/4 of your hourly rate. If you can pay someone in your business to do that thing for you, whatever that thing is for that rate, you should do it because then you're just giving yourself a raise. You're focusing on more of the things that are high ROI, shiny eyes for you, and it's going to help you grow. Okay. So time leverage, I feel like let's wrap that one out. Let's move to technology leverage, trust, and traffic. And I feel like we could do a podcast on each one of these things and we might have to. So let's just do the highlights. Okay. And then we will maybe go deeper on some of these in the next part of this series.
So I think when I first hear about technology, I immediately go to AI and how AI really is changing the future. And I really do think as business owners, again, who want to work smarter, not harder, and care about having that time leverage, AI will be huge for you. And I just want to challenge you whether you are all about it, you're using it all the time, or you're slow to starting to use it. I tend to be a little bit slower. I think the biggest way, and you actually gave me this tip, so thank you, Stephen. But you know how, at least for me, like I always think of when I have a question, I pull out my phone and I go to Google and it's like, a gluten-free chicken pot pie recipe, give me that. And I go to Google and you were just encouraging me, just go to ChatGPT, put ChatGPT on your phone and just get used to going to ChatGPT for those type of Googling questions and start there. And so that's a great way to start implementing it. But you can ask AI so many different things. If you're in the e-commerce space, product and innovation, and the more you use it, the better it gets to know you and some of your prompts. I mean, so many people are using it for social media, for SEO, for newsletter creation, so many different ways. And it really is the future. We need to not be afraid of it, but jump in and learn how to use it.
Yeah, we did an episode 189 on AI. If you want to hear how we're using AI in our business, kind of what we think about the future of AI, I feel like that episode will be outdated in like 6 months. So definitely listen to it now. Yeah. It's still hot, but AI is evolving so fast. Yeah. We'll do another one because 2025 is going to be an insane year for AI, especially AI agents, AGI. So like, if you don't even know what those mean, stay tuned. We'll do an episode on them, but AI is going to be big this year, of course. Technology leverage. The other thing that we do a lot is we leverage things that are already built. Instead of building it yourself, we leverage something that's already built. I kind of imagine this like, okay, let's just say you're trying to get from the Mississippi down to the Gulf of America. Okay. So the Gulf of America, I guess it just got renamed. So that's a big trek, right? Mississippi's like Central America, high up. Gulf of America is way down low. Okay. About Florida. Okay. So I don't know why I'm just getting a Southern accent or say Mississippi, just something that happens to me. So there's a couple ways to get there. Okay. So like you could just grab a shovel and start digging, let's just say you're water and you're trying to get from there to there. Okay. You can start digging your own ditch, right? And dig a river, or you could just like hop on like throw the water in the Mississippi, right? And it would
Mhm.
send it all the way down. So the why I'm giving that analogy is because a lot of people in business kind of like think they need to like create this thing from
Yeah.
scratch, right? Like invent a brand new product, create the Shopify website, and then figure out how to get customers to it. Right. So a lot of times in what we do is we're like, how can we work smarter, not harder? We
Mhm.
start with something that's already built, like Amazon. They already have the customers. They already have the
Yeah.
platform. They already have products in demand. Like, let's just start there and get some momentum. Once we have momentum, we build trust in ourselves, we build authority. We've gone through the things, then we launch our own thing. Okay. So technology leverage, we do the same thing on Instagram with content, with going viral on Instagram. You follow what we're doing over there. We're leveraging a lot of technology for our business, but doing it in a way that's not taking our time. If you look at our Instagram, yes, there's photos of us, but is Chelsey and I creating all the content on the Rainmaker
No, you're
family?
not.
No, we're not creating any of that. Our team is creating all of that content, and we just upload photos from our phone of our family that we take on the weekends when we're hanging out, just having fun. And then they use that. Now, we didn't start there. We started
Mhm.
grinding on Instagram for years. And then we finally were like, oh, wow, okay, this isn't giving us as much shiny as let's find people who can do this. And we outsource that just like we talked about. Okay, so that's technology leverage. Let's talk about the last two, which is trust and traffic leverage. The next form of leverage that is going to really help your business is trust leverage. Now, this one, there's a few different ways you can do this. I think the easiest one is just starting to collect social proof for your
Mhm.
business. Okay, so what this means is reviews. If you're selling a product, you're selling a service, having reviews, testimonials, written, visual,
Mhm.
written and visual, like any type of reviews that you can collect and show off, you should, because that builds trust. One of the easy ways, right, to grow your business is when you first launch, you're like, hey, friends and family, right? At some point, people run out of friends and family, and you got to go to a complete stranger, take them from a cold lead to a hot buyer, right? And so how do you do that? One of the ways is trust, building trust. Of course, you can do this through nurturing and all the things. But another way is have other people share the results
Mhm.
that happen when they got your service, bought your product in the form of a review or testimonial. So if you're not already collecting those, just collect them. Honestly, when we first got started, we would just screenshot, like if someone said something good anywhere, we would screenshot it and put it on the website. And we just started to build that over time to now the point where we have overwhelming like social proof when you go to our website. There's just so much on there, but that took time. It took just
Mhm.
collecting them and creating a system to collect them and then put them somewhere.
I think another great way when you're getting started, or you see this even with huge influencers, specifically on social media platforms, is highlighting other businesses that have your ideal customer that are maybe in the same niche, same audience, or maybe in the next phase of what is needed. For instance, if you are a yoga brand and you sell yoga mats, a lot of yogis and people that are into yoga are really into their health. So maybe as a yoga brand, you could partner with a natural practitioner or somebody who does acupuncture, or just kind of have that way of they're referring you as, someone who sells yoga mats or yoga products. And then you are referring them to this other business where they can continue to build that healthy lifestyle that they're already a part of. And I feel like I even saw this in the early days of our wedding business. It was kind of like highlighting different vendors, or sometimes you'll see a collaboration. So you could reach out to other brands that maybe have similar follower engagement, similar audience, and just say, hey, can we do a giveaway together? Especially around the holidays, people love doing those. And it's almost like a follow train, or you collect everyone's email addresses and then everyone gets those email addresses. And then all together, you go in on a big giveaway that your followers can be a part of.
Yeah, this can be a great way to, again, tap into trust leverage
Hmm.
because those people already trust that business, right?
Yeah.
And so when you guys partner together, now there's more trust for your business for those people who totally didn't know you because of this positioning. So we call that positioning leverage. And it's a great way to grow your business, whether it's a product, service,
Hmm.
info product, digital product, finding people that serve your same person and doing things together. It's
Hmm.
great positioning leverage where you're building trust a lot faster. The other area of this that it's just a different way of thinking, but I mean, this one thought could like 10x your business. And this is like who, sometimes people focus a lot on like getting that one customer. But what if you shifted to like, who has thousands of my customers? And how do I get that one person? Right. It's a different way of thinking. I'm just trying to think of a couple examples we could give you. So when we were launching a mountain bike brand, right? We could go after that one guy who bought the $7,000 mountain bike, and now he needs all the accessories. And yeah, we could run ads and we could do all the things to market and get in front of that one guy and make that one sale, right? Or we could go to a website that buys and sells high-end mountain bikes. And this is what we did. This website would ship you a box, because these guys who buy the latest $7,000 mountain bike every year, like, that's a big thing to like go take photos and ship it, or like, not even ship it, but like try to sell it locally. It's a pain. But these guys, they just want the latest bike with the convenience. And so this company will ship you a box. You put your bike in the box and they'll list it on their website.
That's so cool.
And they'll sell it to the next guy, right? And it's a service they offer. That service has thousands of our ideal customers in their database. So we actually approached them with a creative idea of, hey, what if we just positioned our product with your product? We sell some accessories. Could we give your customers a gift? So when they work with you, could we give them like a $20 gift just free out of our pocket, right? Because we know if we advertise on Facebook, it might cost us $40 to get that customer. But if it's going to cost us $20 and we already know they're super ideal, right? Coming through this business, that's called positioning. And now our brand, who's unknown, is positioned with a brand who's well-known, and we're giving value to their people. So it's positioned positively, and we're getting that lead, right? Which they probably paid a lot of money for. So that's just, again, one example of positioning, thinking of the person who has thousands of the people. One example of, like a Rainmaker story is one of our students who was selling one-to-one on Amazon, which is awesome. But then she started selling wholesale, right, to people who are selling her products one-on-one locally, right? So she started selling bigger orders to people that were selling to multiple people. And that was when she expanded her business. So positioning leverage. And then the last one is Amazon, right? Amazon is one-to-one, but technically we are tapping into their trust, right? Like they have the trust of so many people who are paying Prime members. They have great, return policies and all these things, which we don't always love as sellers, but it's built crazy trust with their customers. And so putting our products on a platform like Amazon, we're able to tap into that trust factor that they have.
So we just talked about trust, and we're going to end with traffic. And this is other people's platforms, how to create traffic. And as an online business, whether you're selling digital products or e-commerce or just wanting to send people to your Amazon storefront, traffic is what is going to pay your bills. Traffic is important. It is important to get customers from this, imagine this huge sea of fish to actually flow down your river and then purchase your products.
So in the realm of traffic, like increasing your leverage, right? We're talking about leverage on this podcast. There are hard ways and there are easier ways that have more leverage. And so we're always thinking of what ways can we add more leverage, right? Ease, how can I make this easier? Amazon's one of those ways. If you're a physical product owner, they already have the traffic. It's like over half of all online sales happen on Amazon. They already have the customers flowing. So how can you just get in front of those people? That's a huge place of traffic if you're an e-commerce physical brand seller. There's also other websites, right, that are super highly visited, right? Social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I guess X, Instagram, TikTok. Like there's already traffic flowing on these websites. Could you create a free thing there that you just get in front of this existing traffic and take it off the main highway into your funnel, into your website? One creative strategy that some of our Rainmakers are doing is they're finding Facebook groups, right, where they already have their ideal customer there. I'm not even talking building Facebook groups. I'm talking about just finding Facebook groups already out there that have hundreds of thousands of their ideal customer in them, and they're run by other people. And they just approach those people and say, hey, can we sponsor your group? Can we be like the sponsored product of the month? Can we do a brand thing together? And oftentimes these people are not running a business off these Facebook groups and will sell you the cover photo space for $20 a month. It's not super expensive, but now you're featured in front of hundreds of thousands of people every month, and you're sending traffic from this place that already has traffic, the main highway, off ramping it into your business or your product. So that's just a creative idea of like, again, leverage is how can I do more with less? I think a lot of entrepreneurs say, how can I do more? How can I go build my Facebook group myself and grow it to hundreds of thousands of members over 2 years? And I'm posting every single day in there. Leverage is saying, how can I find someone who already has the Facebook group and just plug my thing in?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Rainmaker mindset around leverage. We've talked about 4 areas. Time leverage, I think one of the most powerful ones that you should start with. technology leverage, trust leverage, and traffic leverage. There's so many forms of leverage that we teach in Rainmakers. We just want to give you a snippet of that. Again, the Rainmaker method is three things. It's leverage, it's solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's automation. So we'll be talking about solution more in depth, how you
Mm-hmm.
solve problems,
Yeah.
get paid to solve problems in the online space, and then automation, how do you make it more hands off as it grows? And so stay tuned to future episodes. We're going to go deep on each one of these facets of the Rainmaker method. And if you're interested in learning more about Rainmakers and how we build online businesses, go to rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. We have a whole curriculum around this. We get paired up with a one-on-one coach who's going to walk you through the Rainmaker method process, help you apply it to your business, help you create streams of income online through product creation and building a business online.
Yeah.
So if that interests you, go to rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Stay tuned to future episodes. We will be going deep on these topics.
We'll see you next week on another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmakers is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.